A few summers ago, I went for a bike ride around midnight with a friend. We went our separate ways at the end of the evening, and I had about 2 blocks to ride back by myself. Because of construction, I had to ride on the sidewalk, but the streets were dead. But it wasn't a problem until right where I was about to turn left onto my street. There was this man walking by himself, maybe 40s, a little scruffy but not homeless. The sidewalk was narrow and I didn't want to freak him out, so when I got about 6 feet behind him, I said, "Hey, behind you!" And he turned around and gave me this super angry look. I turned down my street and he started to follow me, literally screaming about how I was a fucking cunt and he was going to kill me and all that. I live right off the corner and I didn't want him to figure that out, so I decided to do another loop around the block. That's not the scary part. The scary part is that when I looped back around and looked down the street, I saw him standing on my fucking front stoop, staring out at the street like the motherfucker knew I lived there. He saw me ride by again, but he didn't say anything. I ended up going back to the friends, but my bike got stolen from the alleyway by the house 2 days later. Edit. The guy in question was definitely not actually homeless. We have a large population of mentally ill in that area, unfortunately, downtown of a medium-sized city. So if I didn't think the sidewalk was too narrow to pass otherwise, I wouldn't have disturbed him. Half the scary part was that he looked pretty much completely normal for my area. That being said, I ended up texting my mum and she made the decision not to notify law enforcement until my bike was stolen.
In 2016, my boyfriend, now my husband, and I went camping in eastern Pennsylvania. The place we decided to stop for the night was primitive. Camping was free, no cell service, barely a road, etc. We did encounter 2 other people. They might not factor into what happened later at all, but they were creepy, so I'll describe them. The first was a woman who had her truck off to the side of the road a little as we drove past. She had the hood open and seemed to be waiting for someone to stop and offer to help. Usually, my boyfriend had no problem helping someone, but he said every time something about her put him off. She didn't really seem like she needed help, and usually, people who need help look at you hopefully as you approach. She looked like she just expected we would stop. That's what my boyfriend said anyway. I hadn't really noticed anything that strange about her. The next person came when we had chosen a spot and were setting up a fire for hot dogs. I had noticed people drive by a few times, but my boyfriend pointed out each time was the same car, and the man in the car watched us each time he passed. My boyfriend was a little uneasy about this, but we had driven around for a while before finding a place we liked. It had been raining and everything was muddy, and we wanted the driest site possible. He could have been doing the same thing. We briefly thought about moving, but the road was muddy too. If he wanted to find us, all he had to do was follow the tracks. There were some other tracks, but not many. He'd only have to backtrack a little to locate us again. He didn't come by another time, so we stayed and spent the several remaining hours before dark goofing off. No one else drove by. Whether or not those 2 had anything else to do with our experience, the real fear came later. We had gone to sleep in our tent, and sometime around 3 a.m., we were awoken by this very loud noise. I can't describe it very well, or even remember exactly what it sounded like, but my boyfriend said it reminded him of a chain gun revving up. It was also similar to how it would sound if someone recorded a shovel being dragged over gravel and played it over a loudspeaker is another way he described it. He jumped up and looked out the little window, but couldn't really see anything. The sound repeated itself another few times. I was too scared to speak, so my boyfriend whispered that it was probably miles off, and I should go back to sleep. I didn't question this, as I figured loud sounds could be easily heard miles off. After we left, he told me it sounded like it had actually been coming from just down the road, but he didn't want to freak me out. Looking back, I probably should have wondered why he would bother to whisper if apparently the sound was far off. I was still terrified, Every little thing I heard outside sounded like someone was walking around the tent.
It started last fall. Just an ordinary Saturday morning. Cloudy skies, no birds, no wind. Just silence. The kind of silence that presses into your ears. I grabbed my old boots, filled a thermos with coffee, and went out into the woods. I needed to clear my head. I passed this old wooden sign. Probably said private property once, but the letters were too faded to read. A few minutes deeper into the forest. And then I saw him. The body. It was just lying there between two moss-covered stumps. Face half covered in dirt, mouth wide open like he died screaming. His eyes, bulging, frozen. But the thing that chilled me most, it looked recent. Like someone had dropped him there minutes before I arrived. I called the police. They came, cordoned off the area, took the body, no ID, no name. One of the officers muttered, "Weird boots, real old, like army surplus from decades ago." That was that. At least, that's what I thought. That night, I dreamed of him. Same forest, same trees. Only this time he was standing, not lying down. Just standing, watching me from the shadows. Not moving, not blinking. I woke up drenched in sweat, heart pounding like I'd run miles. The second night he spoke. "Why did you leave me?" "I was watching you." His voice, dry, cracked, like dead leaves whispering in the wind. I jolted awake, convinced I saw someone standing in the corner of my room. But when I turned on the light, nothing. Third night, I wasn't dreaming of him. I was dreaming as him. I looked down. My hands were muddy, cold. My boots, old, rotting, soaked in moss. I leaned over a pool of rainwater and saw my reflection. Not my face. His. I was him. Fourth night. I don't even know if it was a dream anymore. I woke up, or thought I did. Bedroom door open, cold air slipping in. Balcony doors swinging gently in the wind. And there, he stood, watching me, the same face. Only this time, he smiled. Not evil, not angry, patient, like he'd been waiting, like it was finally my turn. Since then, well, I disappeared. They'll say I ran off or lost my mind. But you and I know better. I'm still here, just not where you think. So, if you ever walk deep into the woods and it gets too quiet, really quiet, don't look back. And if you find a pair of old boots, damp with moss, they're not waiting to be found. They're waiting for you.